Hello there. Today I'm taking a look at a little half bottle of wine I bought at an auction recently. This is Reichsgraf von Kesselstatt's Piesporter Goldtropfchen Riesling Auslese from 2005. I saw it in the auction catalogue and I think Kesselstatt are good producers, and it had an estimate on it of between 40 and 60 New Zealand dollars for a half bottle. I thought that was quite interesting. And then I looked a little more closely at the listing, and it made me think that that was a rather conservative estimate, because this isn't Piesporter Goldtropfchen Riesling Auslese, or rather it isn't just Piesporter Goldtropfchen Riesling Auslese. If you look, it has a gold capsule. Looking at our listing on our website, it had a dark capsule, and when I read the label, you'll see just down at the bottom there, if I put this close and hopefully it'll focus, it says Foeder 5. So rather than being the standard Auslese from Piesporter Goldtropfchen in 2005, this is a special bottling. Now, according to German wine law, from one vineyard you may not make more than one Auslese, or Spätlese, or Kabinett for that matter. So if producers make more than one wine of the same Qualitätswein rating, they have to find a way of communicating that this is a special bottling, and thus we have the gold capsule, and this is a short gold capsule. Sometimes you get an extra special bottling which has a long gold capsule, a Langer Golder capsule, and the note that it's from Foeder 5, from an individual Foeder 1,000 litre barrel. So having purchased this at auction, I thought I did fairly well. I mean, I have to say that I paid, I believe in the end, $95 or thereabouts once tax and commission was included for this half bottle. And when I looked up the gold capsule price for a 75 centilitre bottle, which is the way we aggregate our pricing, that was at about 237 New Zealand dollars per bottle. So actually the price was not a particular bargain, and therefore I don't feel guilty that anybody was ripped off in this, because I'm pretty certain that somebody else bidding in the auction had also spotted that this was a gold capsule, and thus it naturally reached the sort of price that a gold capsule was worth. Kesselstatt, wonderful historic estate. They have records that trace some of their vineyards back to 1349. They were quite a large noble house based around a beautiful location, Castle Marienlee, which is near the Saar Valley, but they have vineyard holdings in the Saar, the Ruwer, and mostly in the Mosel Valley itself. All top sites, all steep, in total somewhere between 46 and 50 hectares. Steep, dark slate soils, ideal for Riesling. They're only producing Rieslings. The nature of the vineyard and the nature of the selection required to make an Auslese means that these are only ever going to be hand-picked. Fermentation going on with ambient yeasts entirely. Normally they only produce wines in stainless steel tanks. It's only their top wines that get to be vinified in barrel. So I'm assuming that, being labelled Foeder 5, this has been fermented as well as aged in a 1,000 litre old oak cask. Auslese, one of the higher levels of the Predicat system, so you're starting, by the time you're getting to Auslese, to get some botrytis influence in the wine. Generally an Auslese will be sweet. You can get dry Auslesen, but that tends to be an exception rather than a rule. So let's have a look at the wine, shall we? I mean, very notably, wonderful golden, almost like sort of liquid honey sort of colour. There's a beautiful orange translucency to the wine. As I'm swilling it, that's rich and honeyed, which is probably indicating a little bit of botrytis in there. It's rich, very ripe, sort of peach, apricot, all those notes in there. And then there is a distinctive note, and I've used this before, thinking about wax polish in there as well, as the different elements within the aromas are aging and combining. And the waxiness is actually it's attractive. It's not overpowering the fruit. It's somehow combining them. Maybe there are sort of real top notes of honeysuckle, that sort of thing there. No influence of oak because it's sort of aged in old oak. But yes, plenty going on in this sort of rich, honeyed, treacly nose with sort of top notes of orange blossom, honeysuckle. Plenty to find in there. So that's for taste. Now the wine is only 7.5% alcohol, so it's quite light and there's a real elegance to it, and that was why I wasn't particularly sticking to the glass, despite the fact it's relatively sweet. I should imagine there are 40-50 grams per litre of sugar in there at least, possibly more. There are honeyed notes, but they're very smooth. There's almost a sort of a honey with a slight sort of marzipan note to it. Maybe that's a little bit of the influence of oxygen there, just toning down the fruit, smoothing it out. There are hints of orange peel, orange marmalade notes, I suppose, there. Because behind this beautiful, rich fruit, there's a lovely freshness. It's not steely, it's not overbearing. The acidity is beautifully in balance. The alcohol almost non-existent, but the acidity is just leading to the wine finishing. It does finish quite sweet, but then there's this beautiful hint of fresh lemony acidity just to round it out. The name Goldtropfchen evidently means drops of gold, and I think in this case how wonderfully appropriate. This is almost like sort of drinking a wonderful juicy nectar. At 7.5%, this is almost like a fruit juice. There's very little influence of alcohol in it at all. It's almost as if you're drinking a sort of a juice that has just dropped from a really ripe autumn fruit into your glass. There's a wonderful concentration. I mean, 2005 was a fabulous vintage. The fruit got wonderfully ripe and the acidity was good enough to keep it wonderfully fresh, and that's what we're tasting now. There's lovely ripe flavours that have developed in the bottle and are being kept lively by this acidity. I think this is a wine drinking at full maturity now. I'm sure you could age it for another decade or two, but I don't think you'd necessarily gain much more. It would probably become richer, a little bit more treacly, but the freshness of the fruit would start to decline, and that is part of its charm and its beauty, and I think this is drinking really nicely now. So thank you very much for joining us. I hope you find this interesting. If you do, please do sign up and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Do tell your friends, do share the video, do leave some comments. We'd love to hear what you think, either about the wines, the video, or other experiences you've had in that relation. But most importantly, I hope you've enjoyed this enough that it'll prompt you to join us again for another tasting in the near future. Thank you very much. Bye now.